This is the story of a quiet holiday that turned into one of the most haunting missing person cases in modern history. On the night of May 3, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from her family's apartment in Praia da Luz without a trace. Despite one of the largest investigations and global attention, every lead seemed to open more questions than answers. And after all these years, one question still remains. What really happened to Madeleine McCann that night? Let's dive in. On the evening of the 3rd of May 2007, the McCann family was on holiday in Praia da Luz, a quiet resort town in the Algarve region of Portugal. The family parents, Kate McCann and Jerry McCann, had traveled there with their 3 children for what was meant to be a relaxing vacation. Madeleine, just 3 years old at the time, was staying in an apartment at the Ocean Club Resort with her younger twin siblings. That evening, the parents dined with friends at a tapas restaurant, located a short walk from their apartment. The arrangement they had made was to check periodically on the children, who were asleep in the room. It was during one of these routine checks that Kate McCann discovered something alarming. Madeleine was missing from her bed. What followed was immediate panic. The apartment was searched, the resort was alerted, and local authorities were contacted. Within hours, police officers, hotel staff, and vacationers joined in the search. Praia da Luz, usually a calm tourist destination, quickly transformed into the center of an international crisis. At first, investigators considered several possibilities: an abduction by a stranger, an accident, or even a delayed disappearance within the apartment or surrounding resort. The Portuguese police launched a formal investigation, treating the scene as a potential crime site. However, early decisions made during the investigation would later become highly controversial, particularly regarding how evidence was handled and how leads were pursued. As news of the disappearance spread, British media picked up the story almost immediately. Within days, the case became global. The image of a smiling blonde child, later widely recognized as Madeleine McCann, was circulated across television networks, newspapers, and posters worldwide. Public attention intensified pressure on law enforcement to find answers quickly. Search efforts expanded rapidly. Volunteers combed beaches, rural areas, and nearby buildings. Dogs trained to detect human remains and bodily fluids were brought in. Investigators examined potential sightings reported across Europe. However, none of these early leads produced definitive results. In the weeks that followed, the investigation became increasingly complicated. The Portuguese police initially treated the case as a possible abduction, but as time passed, other theories began to emerge. Attention shifted toward inconsistencies in timelines and statements given by individuals who were present in the resort that night. Media speculation grew, often conflicting with official statements and complicating public understanding of the case.
There is sufficient significance in terms of the consistent features amongst the offences which make us believe that they are connected.
Months later, in a highly controversial move, Kate McCann and Jerry McCann were named as formal suspects by Portuguese authorities. This decision shocked the public and created intense media debate. The McCanns strongly denied any involvement and maintained that their daughter had been abducted. Eventually, their status as suspects was lifted, but the damage to public perception had already been done.
Most people are familiar with the term I would use, which is monstering, where someone's on the front page of the news, and happened to us with Madeleine. And photographers literally ramming their cameras against our car window.
The father of Madeleine McCann opening up about his daughter's disappearance and the media storm that followed. He believes it hindered the search for his little girl, who vanished from the family's Portugal holiday apartment in 2007. Even being declared a suspect didn't compare to the trauma of relentless media attention.
We're fortunate we survived, and I do mean that. We survived. We are lucky we survived. We had tremendous support, but I can promise you there were times where I felt like I was drowning.
Despite extensive investigation, the case went cold for several years. There were periodic resurfacing of leads, reported sightings, forensic re-examinations, and renewed media attention, but none resulted in conclusive breakthroughs. The case remained unsolved, and Madeleine's whereabouts remained unknown. In 2011, the British police launched their own review of the investigation, concluding that there was evidence suggesting Madeleine McCann may have been abducted by a stranger. This led to renewed cooperation between UK and Portuguese authorities. A more structured investigation effort, often referred to as Operation Grange, was initiated to re-examine all available evidence. Over time, attention began to focus on potential suspects linked to criminal activity in the Algarve region during that period. One individual who later became central to renewed interest was a German man named Christian Brueckner. He had lived intermittently in Portugal and had a criminal history involving serious offenses. German authorities later identified him as a formal suspect in connection with Madeleine's disappearance. However, he has never been charged in relation to the case, and he denies involvement. Investigators examined his movements, phone records, and potential presence in the area at the time of the disappearance. Some evidence suggested he may have been nearby Praia da Luz around the time Madeleine went missing, but nothing has definitively placed him at the crime scene. As with previous leads, the investigation remains ongoing and unresolved. Throughout the years, the case has generated numerous theories. Some suggest a spontaneous abduction by an opportunistic offender. Others propose a more planned act involving surveillance of the resort. There are also theories that involve mistaken timelines or accidental events followed by concealment. However, no theory has been proven, and authorities have repeatedly urged the public to avoid speculation. One of the most significant challenges in the case has been the passage of time.
I remember seeing this just beautiful little girl on the face of a magazine, and the words missing above her head. And I just started kind of looking into it. And though it seems they have a suspect in custody, I don't think they have enough credible evidence and to put him away for it. Unfortunately, they haven't found Maddie. They haven't found any evidence other than the fact that he was actually in the area when she disappeared, and the fact that he actually sexually assaulted another woman 2 years prior in that same area. Mm-hmm. They don't have any evidence. They don't have anything else that can convict. And I know over here in America.
Were there major missteps early on in the investigation? I know there were multiple agencies involved.
Yes.
I mean, was it messy to begin with and evidence and clues were lost?
Yes. When the night Maddie went missing, everybody just kind of started looking for her. It wasn't until a little bit later that police actually started getting involved. When they did get involved, they did massive searches, but the Portugal police kind of looked at her parents as the main suspects, which kind of happens in cases like this because it does happen frequently. But because they looked at them, so basically under a microscope, they didn't really look anywhere else. They didn't preserve the crime scene. They didn't go back with cadaver dogs to the actual apartment that they were staying at until 3 months after Maddie had gone missing. And by then, many families had actually gone in and out of that apartment multiple times in those 3 months.
As years pass, physical evidence becomes harder to analyze, memories fade, and potential witnesses become more difficult to trace. Despite this, investigators have continued to review forensic data using improved technology, including advancements in DNA analysis and digital tracking. Despite extensive efforts, no confirmed trace of Madeleine McCann has ever been found since that night in 2007. There is no verified evidence of her current location, condition, or fate. The lack of closure has left a lasting emotional impact on her family and continues to draw public attention worldwide. What makes this case particularly enduring is not only the mystery itself, but the way it has evolved over time. It reflects challenges in international policing, the influence of media on criminal investigations, and the difficulties of solving cases where critical early evidence may have been limited or lost. It also highlights how a single moment can change multiple lives forever. Today, the investigation remains open. Authorities continue to receive tips, review old evidence, and follow any credible lead that emerges. The case of Madeleine McCann stands as one of the most haunting, unresolved mysteries in recent history, a case where certainty has never been reached, and where every answer seems to lead to another question. And until definitive evidence emerges, the question at the heart of this story remains: what truly happened on the night Madeleine McCann disappeared from Praia da Luz?